Welcome back, everyone. Today we're going to do session 6. We are halfway in our course, and session 6 is about an effective leader understands school leadership. Understanding school leadership. You're a leader, but you need to understand how to be a really effective leader. So in this session, we are going to be introduced to the concept of community governance. So you're not alone in this. In South Africa, we have a word called Ubuntu, which means, it describes the idea of it takes a village to raise a child. Well, it takes a group of people to lead a school effectively. Everybody comes with gifts and talents, and they come alongside you, leader, to help you. They've got the same aims and goals to make the school flourish, to raise godly men and women out of your school. So they come alongside you to help. We're going to help you to understand how this works and what kind of teams you need to make your school effective. So, session goals. After completing the sessions, you, the participants, will recall the biblical principle of using people's God-given talents and gifts in administering an effective school board, and you will examine the school community governance idea, model of administration, and how it can benefit your school. Right, we're here to help you understand it. Bastian's going to explain our activity that we're going to start with today. Right, over to you.
So your facilitator is going to help you with your activity, but we've got a wonderful activity that is watching a video of a blind man who climbs the highest mountain in the world, and the lessons he's learned from doing that. If we don't have video material, we've got another exercise that we've planned for you with blindfolds and going through an obstacle course, but your facilitators are going to help you with that. And when we've come back, we are going to discuss a couple of lessons that you will have learned, hopefully learned, or will have seen as you go through the material or through the exercise. So enjoy the exercises, and we'll see you just now.
Mount Everest, the tallest point on Earth. For a sighted person, climbing Mount Everest is one of the greatest physical challenges on the face of the Earth. Ever since I went blind, it's been a dream in the back of my mind to climb the world's tallest peak. When we started thinking about climbing Everest, a lot of the Himalayan experts sort of came out of the woodwork and said I'd be a liability up there, that I'd kill myself, I'd kill my team. There are always going to be people who think you're crazy, and then there are also going to be those who do share your vision.
The truth of the matter is Everest was a very, very difficult climb. It was dangerous.
I knew that only 10% of the people who try Everest make it to the top, and for every 6 people who summit, I've heard 1 dies.
First time I met Eric was at a trade show.
He asked me, he said, have you ever thought of climbing Everest?
He said he never climbed Everest, but he wanted to.
PV is probably one of the best leaders that I've ever seen in real life.
Probably one of his strongest attributes is his energy and positive attitude, and he would never have people do things that he wouldn't do himself.
A great leader is not afraid to share leadership.
As a blind person, I knew I could never get to the summit of Everest alone. And what would get me to the top wasn't necessarily technology. What would get me to the summit were the people that I surrounded myself with.
Most teams are torn apart by egos. There were some people I wanted to bring on the expedition, that I decided not to bring on the expedition because I knew they could not be good team members.
PV wanted people who knew the Himalayas well, who knew Everest well.
But equally important, I feel, was getting a series of climbers that Eric has climbed with in the past that may or may not be great Himalayan people, but Eric trusted. I think in the success of an expedition, trust is the most important ingredient. Without trust, there's nothing.
If you can unify people with one vision, it becomes that rallying point, and it becomes a team that's unstoppable.
We were all committed to a single purpose, and that single purpose was helping Eric get to the summit of Mount Everest. So there was a big meaning to the expedition. We knew that unless Eric could climb through the Khumbu icefall effectively, quickly, and safely, that he stood no chance of climbing Mount Everest.
My first trip through the icefall was the hardest day of my life in the mountains. Every step could kill me.
Well, 13 hours through the icefall is terrible. He was thoroughly exhausted, as tired as I've ever seen a climber in his life. There was blood pouring out of Eric's nose. It was all over his clothes where he had been hit in the face and almost fell in a crevasse. He collapsed inside the tent when I walked out, and the rest of the team was outside. I told him, this can't happen. Unless we can change this, unless we can get Eric through this thing faster, we might as well turn around and go home. Unbeknownst to me, Eric was listening to me. He wasn't asleep. And he told me later on, he says it was one of the most down periods of time in his life.
I told Eric, do you think you can do this? And he's like, I don't know. And I said, well, if you don't think you can, you're not going to,
I forced myself to sit in front of my tent and envision myself and my team on the top, to actually believe myself forward.
Giving him more time and practice, he got better.
A lot of my improved success had to do with my teammates. They began to understand how to tap certain things and give me information, and how to communicate real succinctly.
Unclip that ATC. Nope, not that way, Bubba. There you go. Before you know it, we were speeding through there. We were passing people, which was cool. Sighted people, other teams.
On summit day, he actually made it from base camp, past Camp 1, all the way to Camp 2 in less than 5 hours, which even for a sighted climber is an incredible feat. We set up a nightly tent meeting because it was a very effective way to get a lot of communication across. And I'd ask people, do you have problems? Are there concerns? What do you think? I think if you really pay attention and give people credit and don't belittle people and you just listen to what they say, it's really effective.
So if I do have to turn back, I'm just curious. I mean, what's the plan? I'll feel totally bad because I'll ruin probably someone or one or two person's summit day.
This whole thing's about you.
This whole thing's about you, man.
Hopefully everybody realizes that we've got a prerogative here, and that's to get Eric to the top.
Above Camp 3, you enter what's called the death zone. It's where your body has stopped acclimatizing. You got to get to the summit now as quickly as you can.
I'm nervous. What are you nervous about? No reason. No reason. It's not like we're going to be climbing to the top of the world.
Our plan is to leave Camp 4 around 8:30 p.m. and climb all through the night. If things work out, we hope to make summit by late morning.
It's dark. For the first time, we're kind of on Eric's turf.
Leaving on summit day, we got up, we're ready to go, everybody's feeling good, and I felt cold. The higher I got, the sicker I got, and it dawned on me that I had malaria. And I've had malaria 8 times. I caught it originally in Africa, and it keeps coming back when there's a lot of stress.
TV is coming down. He's feeling really bad. He's moving very slowly. He might need some help.
The goal of the expedition was not to have me summit. It was absolutely the most difficult decision I've ever made in my life. I had spent 2 years of my life working on this expedition, planning on this expedition, dreaming about standing with Eric at the summit.
And that night, he did an exceptional thing, when he realized that if he kept going, he was going to be a liability. He's a great leader, and any leader knows when to step back.
when this storm came in really fast from the south.
We're still waiting for the weather, but weather is very bad.
All my planning, the one thing I forgot was to appoint an assistant team leader.
We were leaderless. Some of us wanted to go forward, some of us wanted to turn back. We're in a crisis. It's really amazing that when you really need it, leadership seems to spring from the most unexpected places. Because Kevin, our base camp manager, you know, his job was to set up tents and organize gear and to do less glamorous things like clean the bathroom tents. He had taken it upon himself to understand these very complex weather patterns and charts and graphs that he was seeing over the internet.
Mike, I know you guys are in a storm right now. It's snowing, it's very windy, but from down here, it is clearing up. Just push forward. You guys are going to do great. You'll have good weather within the hour. Over.
It certainly helps to hear them say, hey, it's getting better, hang in there.
And as we're moving up about 28,000 feet, Brad yells down, you know, the ropes are buried.
And the only way to get them out is to dig it out and then you pull it. It sounds like an easy thing, but when it's crusted over and you're only breathing a third as much oxygen, you know, it's a pretty tough job. Those guys probably really didn't need those fixed lines. They probably could have walked right past them and kept going, but they knew the rest of us needed them. And they knew Eric needed them.
I remember processing that, sitting at that one spot and thinking very clearly, if I do this, I'm not going to be able to go to the top. I remember that last tug of the rope, pulling it, and poof, I saw it shoot up to the south summit, and I remember just being flooded with joy.
I was so deflated because I knew that he had just sacrificed his own attempt for me.
He's like, you know, I got to go, though, right? I said, I want you to. That's why I did this.
I don't even think they questioned themselves. I think they just went out there and did it.
I watched him hop off the back of the south summit, and I thought to myself, there is no way I'm going to let that blind guy go stand on top of the world and have to hear about it the rest of my life. So I hopped right down behind him.
I can't believe it.
Good job, Eric. You did it, man. We're on top of the world. We are on top of the world.
When I heard he made it, and then I heard like everybody made it on the team, I was thinking, man, I could never have hoped for better success than that.
We all did it, and that's even cooler than if I went over and just did it on my own.
I don't think certain people are destined to lead and others are destined to follow. I think leadership is inside everyone. My team on Everest may not have been a bunch of superstars, but they stepped up and they led when it mattered. I don't think I'm very different from anyone else. I think everyone has a yearning for greatness inside them. That ability to reach out into uncertainty, in a sense, I guess, to climb blind.
Okay, so this leading and following and looking after the people that you are leading, the problems and the challenges that go with it are not new. Moses in the Old Testament was a leader. Do you remember? He took the whole nation of the Israelites through the desert. And I thought there were like 300 people. There were 2 million. 2 million people, and 2 million people get on each other's nerves and they get in each other's way. So they were coming to Moses as the leader saying, Moses, but my neighbor puts his 10 pigs on my carpet. And then Moses would have to sort out their problems. And Moses was busy all day, sorting out problems, putting out fires. Well, that's what we call that, putting out fires. So, excuse me, at a certain time, Moses' father-in-law, Jethro, came to visit him there in the desert, brought Moses' wife and his 2 children as well. They had a great family reunion, and I can just imagine as they're sitting there having breakfast, maybe they had this dry stuff, these things that they picked up in the desert, having breakfast, and Moses said, "Sorry, Dad, I've got to go. I've got to sort out problems. The guys are queued up already." And Jethro followed Moses, watched Moses sitting there with the people, sorting out this problem and that problem. And Moses was just running himself down. And Jethro said to him, "This thing that you are doing here is not good. You're going to wear yourself down, and the people don't get justice quickly because it takes time to sort out. You should be taking your problems, these problems of the people, to God. You should be putting people in place," and this is where our lesson is. You should be putting people, leaders in place, people of integrity, to help you to sort out these problems with the people. Set up people over groups of people, good people with integrity, and they can sort out these tent peg problems and these smaller problems. If there's now a real big problem, then they can come to you, Moses. But you need to be freed up to actually do the running and the leading and all these other things that are your leadership, the things that you have been tasked with. So, yes, even in the Bible, all these years ago, these problems of leadership and coping with leadership and bringing in others to help you were issues. Okay, there are 2 references about people having different gifts. You see, when Moses pulled in these other people, they came with gifts and with abilities. He didn't just pull them in because they were old enough or because they were senior people and they've been in the team in the group for a long time. No, he pulled up people that were qualified to do this leading. Ephesians 4, there is a list of gifts, apostles, prophets, evangelists, pastors, apostles, yes.
Teachers.
5, yes, teachers.
Pastors.
Yeah, all these different gifts. 1 Corinthians 12, you know, there are all the gifts that people have. Not everybody's got all the gifts, but those gifts that you have, you can use. Then there is a lovely reference in 1 Peter 4 about being stewards. It is not your team. You are a steward as a leader. And the other leaders that you call in, they are stewards over smaller areas. And the word for steward, and I thought this was very, very pertinent, is oikonomos. You can hear the word economy. That comes from oikos, which means a house, and nemos, to arrange the house. So these leaders that you bring in to be on your governing board, they are supposed to help you to arrange your house, not to rearrange it, to arrange their little sections so that it runs more economically, or economos. Okay, there's my thing.
So we are going to look at a little video clip in a minute, which I made especially for this, and it's called something. It's called community governance. It's about community governance. The video, we are going to unpack that term and everything else, but the video will help you. But if I had to put my own word in this, I would call it Ubuntu governance. Taking people, using people, taking your village to raise a child, taking your leaders to help you raise up your school, and in that the children that are in your school. So sit back, enjoy the video clip, and afterwards we are going to unpack it and we'll see what is all going on in the video. Thank you. Right, we are coming to the nitty-gritty, that means the detail of what we are doing today. In Australia, there is a company that is called Bartlett and Campy. Those are the surnames of the two gentlemen that work together. And they made what we call a model. What was the word we were
An
gonna...
idea.
An
I just want to say that when Bastian was studying at Teachers College, they talked about a model, and he kept on thinking about a model, something that one builds, and that he didn't understand that a model can be an idea. So they did a model,
They built
an
up
idea.
a model, an idea of how to run a school. And they called, not only a school, by the way, they actually did it for churches and for non-profit organizations and for schools. And that's why I went to visit them, and they gave me a copy of their book, which you can download if you look on the internet. So there is this model of what they call school governance, how to run a school. So it's the Bartlett and Campy community governance model. And we are going to unpack that for you. I've tried to make it really easy because I don't want you to learn something and then you forget about it tomorrow. I want you to be able to take this material and go and apply it to your school. There are so many things where you need people to help you. When you are running a school, it is incredibly difficult to try and do the discipline, to try and do the money, to try and look after your teachers, to do all of those things all at the same time. And you need to put teams in place. So we're going to look at the community governance model. And as I said earlier, I would love to call it Ubuntu governance, because I think that explains for us very well what this is all about. So we have got, and in your manuals you'll see there is a diagram of the 4 sections that make up the main parts of where your teams need to fit together. The first section I'm going to be talking about is who are the beneficiaries. So here is a difficult word, beneficiaries, and you'll hear benefit in there. Who are the people who are going to benefit from your school? You need to identify them. And in fact, if you've got a primary school or a preschool or a high school or even tertiary education, you need to know who your beneficiaries are. Because I would, if I was running a preschool, kindergarten, I would make sure that they've got playground equipment and all that kind of thing, because I know who my beneficiaries are. If I was running a university or a high school, I would not be concerned about playground equipment. I'd make sure that there are places to sit down and somewhere to relax in between lectures or in between lessons. So your beneficiaries are in the very first place the children, the pupils in your school. The second lot of beneficiaries are maybe not direct beneficiaries but secondary beneficiaries, and they are the parents. The parents are actually paying you to do the job. So they are the product they're getting from the money that they've paid is that you are working with their children, but they are also beneficiaries. So you've got the families and the children who are beneficiaries. And we've looked at this beforehand. This then goes right out into the community. The families stand in the community, so even indirectly further afield, beneficiaries are people, everybody who gains anything from the school. So they are the beneficiaries. That's the first group that fit into this plan, into our Ubuntu governance model. Ursula, do you want to talk about the next one?
This is the second one of the 4. These are the moral owners. Now, of course, you also have got to live a moral life, but it's not about that. Moral owners are the ones that attach value, not money value, but value to the school. The people that had the vision in the beginning, like maybe a pastor had a vision. He saw all these children running around and not going to school, and he said, I will start a school, and I want to start a school that raises the children up to be good at academics, that enjoy learning, and I want to make it a Christian school so that they will be godly members of society. So that was the vision originally, and so the pastor is what is called a moral owner. That doesn't mean he owns the school, not at all, but he owns the idea, the moral idea of what the school is about. Now, moral owners need to also be part of running the school. You can't suddenly come in as a principal and say, this old pastor and his ideas, this is now my school. No, the pastor has invested ideas and vision into the school. He needs to be consulted, if not consulted, at least his vision and his ideas for the school need to be taken into consideration, even if you're not on your board or anything, but you've got to continue with what the school was originally intended for. It might be a pastor, it might be the person who started the school, maybe it's a person in the community, maybe it's a business person who started the school. You've got to take into consideration what their ideas and ideals for the school were.
So remember this, we are now naming these different groups of people, but they make up smaller teams that will help you to run your school. So there might be a team or just 3-4 people who are the moral owners of the school, maybe the owners or the people who had the vision. They make up a little team or a little group of people. We move on to the next section, and this is very, very important for the whole running of the school. Actually, both the next sections are what it's really all about. A school should have what we call a school board. Some schools call it a school council, a school board. They are the people, they have representatives, people who come from the community, from the school, from the church, who have the interest and the well-being of the school at heart. They know what the vision is of the school, and they also know what the mission is of the school. The board is not involved with running the school. They're not interested in how you keep your school clean and tidy, or how the teachers teach maths in the classroom. That's not their job. Their job, the school board's job, is to make sure the school is going in the right direction. And very often the school board also helps to appoint new teachers. The school board is very important for you as leaders, because problem situations do arise, they always arise. And somebody makes a meeting with you and comes and talks to you and says, I want my children, they're not allowed to go on the school bus because it's not safe enough. So that parent now wants their child to go separately. They then make an appointment, then you listen to them, and then you can say, I will take it to the school board. And the school board can then make a decision and say that child may not go privately in their car, they have to go on the school bus because it's a school outing and they are all going to go in. That's just a simple example. But you as a leader have got the school board following you up and helping you to make these decisions and to make the hard decisions. And so you don't have to do it on your own. It's the beneficiaries who are the people who gain. So a parent would be, one of the parents would be part of the school board. In fact, you usually would have several parents being part of the school board. You'd have somebody from the original owners, the moral owners on the school board. The head of school would be on the school board, so obviously you would be on the school board, and there would be a representative from the faculty to be part of the school board. And so the school board directs the direction of the school, where it is going, and they decide on the big issues, the policies that are put in place, who does what. They also appoint teachers and they help teachers to grow. They help the school to grow. Now, on that school board, in my case, I had 3 churches that were involved in the school, and one of their pastors, they appointed a pastor to be on our school board, and as that pastor was on the school board, they made sure that we were following the right Christian direction that they wanted. That pastor was also on the team that interviewed new teachers. So that pastor made sure that the teachers were Christian teachers and had the right Christian direction and standards that they wanted. Okay.
Yes, and being on the school board, while it is an honor, you don't have to bring people onto the board just because there are senior people in the community. I know you want to honor your seniors, but that is not a reason to put them onto the school board. If they're not really interested in the school and how the school does, they don't have a space on the board. Right, we get to the last one of the 4 quadrants of school management. And this one is the personnel one. In your school management, you do want to have some personnel on your team because they know what's going on and they need to put into practice what you're guiding them to do. So, on the personnel section, it is faculty heads. So the junior primary head, maybe the senior primary head, or whatever you call them, the faculty heads. All right, so you will have some teacher representation on your personnel. The interesting thing is you don't just take teachers. There will also be the teachers that are on the school board, because on the school board decisions will have been taken, and those teachers from the school board need to now take it to the other teachers that are in the personnel team. Conversely, the people on the personnel team need to report back to those that are on the school board, the teachers that are on the school board, so that there is good communication. We talked earlier about good communication, so that the school functions well. Remember, it's not an ownership thing, and we are not on the personnel team, and we're not going to tell the others what we're doing. No, not at all. You need to communicate with each other in order for the school to function well. Some schools, it's called the school management team. School management team is different from the school board. School management team is made of those people that are actually putting things into practice. They are often the ones that take the mission of the school, not the vision, That's for the board, but the personnel do the mission. They do what needs to be done. They, for instance, if there's a school function, they would be discussing it there first.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, absolutely. So now let me try and put this all together for you so you can understand what we have been talking about. We started with the fact that a biblical example is that somebody's in charge, like Moses, and Moses appointed people, leaders who would oversee groups of people. We know that in the New Testament that we see that the church has people with different talents and gifts, and they help the church to run. And in the same way, we are now looking at teams that make up a school and that help the school to run properly. Now, we used an example of a group of people that set up this example of how to run a school nicely, and they said you should take into account that there are 4 groups of people that are involved in running the school. The first group of people were, and I'm going to jump down to the moral owners first. The moral owners are the people who had the vision for the school. They know what they want. They know how it is. Now, we're presuming that those people are still there. Obviously, that might change over time. But there are moral owners. They say, this is what we want. Those moral owners move across, and one of them or some of them are on the board of the school. The board is the regulating body that makes sure that the school is going in the right direction. They are not involved with teaching affairs. We talked about, Ursula just now mentioned, the personnel. The personnel are the people who run the school, who do everything that happens in the school, the classrooms and how the classrooms get cleaned. The leadership team is involved in that. All of that happens in the personnel. But the board makes sure that the direction of the school is going in the right direction, that the vision and mission of the school are set in place. Then you have the SMT, School Management Team. That's what they just make it short. Every school should have an SMT. You might call it something different, but every school should have a team that run the school. So it'll be your headmaster or your head of school, it will be your deputy heads, it will be your subject heads. They will all be part of that. That little SMT team is actually the crucial part of your school, because they then take the messages to the teachers who work out what the SMT wants, and then the SMT team and the teachers team, they impact the beneficiaries, which are the children. So it is a circle that goes around and around, and each one interacts with each other. So, in practical terms, what does it mean for you as a head of school? It means you should be looking back at whoever set up the school to make sure you're following in the direction that the school was intended for. You should have a school board. We are going to talk a bit more about the school board a bit later. You must have a school board, so you have got somebody who comes in and helps you with your finances, with legal advice, who helps you with the direction you're going, who helps with the appointment of staff. The school board is very important. The school board has its representatives, if I can call it that, who happens to be you, at the school management team, which is now part of the personnel. Can you see? It's moving around in a circle. It's going around. Everybody is affecting everybody else. There is a fifth little section which I have included, which is very important for a school. And I've called that the school subcommittees. Those are little committees of people who help, little teams of people who help to run, to make sure. Some schools have a grounds committee. They make sure that the grounds look beautiful. Who looks after a little garden at the entrance? Who looks after advertising? Who looks after the finances and reports back to the school board on the finances? There are subcommittees, a sports subcommittee. They are often parents who are involved in helping the school to function as a whole. You're going to go now and together with your facilitator, and there are some questions and worksheets to fill in, and then we'll come back after you have done that work. Thank you very much. I would now like to give you a few guidelines as to things a good board should keep in mind in running the school. It is really important for them to know exactly what their roles are. The biggest mistake that boards make is that they start wanting to run the operations of the school. And that is not their task. The board appoints the head of school, and the head of school's job is to run the school. So we're going to get to that in a minute. But first of all, the board members are what we call the keepers of the school's vision and mission. So they know where they want the school to be, and they know what the school needs to achieve. Now, in order to do that, a good board reviews itself regularly. A good board sits down and looks once a year and looks and says, are we achieving what we meant to be achieving? Is our school achieving what it's meant to achieve? They have to review themselves, and they have to look at themselves and see, are they actually doing, they will say, are we doing what we need to be doing? Remember, and a head of school can help the board to direct them and say, the school board is for the vision and mission and the big overarching things. The operations of the school, they appoint the principal, and the principal is the person who oversees the running of the school. Then, another point which is very crucial for you as leaders, make sure that you prayerfully appoint new board members. You can't have a meeting of the parents and say, who wants to be on the board? And somebody at the back has got some issue with the school, and they put up their hand and they get voted in, and they can change the direction of the school drastically by just appointing the wrong person to the board. So prayerfully, as a board, sit down and pray about the next people whom you are going to appoint as members of that board. So say you need somebody to help with the finances, and this is a very real and very important job. If you get the wrong person in there, you have got a big problem on your hands. So get a board member, make sure as a head that the right board members are appointed. And again, Ursula has said it before, it's not a status thing, it's got to do with who has the capacity to do the job that needs to be done. And so we need to make sure that that all happens. The school board should not undermine the teachers or the head of school. They should be there in a supportive role so that they make sure that they are really supporting the head of school. So they need to work together and direct the vision and mission of the school. When you have board meetings, you should have proper, we call it protocol, but that's not so important, but you should have proper structured meetings. So you start on time, you end on time. Somebody is there who writes the minutes. Minutes are records of what happened at the meeting. So if an important decision gets made, it's written down, and those written notes, of course they can be typed up, the typed notes, somebody can do it on their laptop. The typed notes should be stuck into a book and kept, because this often happens. A year from the date that you had the meeting, you all think you remember what you decided, and a year later, you've forgotten what you decided. Then you can go back to your book, you can look at the date, you can find out what you discussed and what the conclusion was. If something happens and somebody else needs to know, you as head of school can say, yes, but on the 4th of January we had a meeting, and at that meeting we decided that the school will have 200 school days and that we will have so many holidays. It's clear, it's written down. So you have minutes. So there is somebody who you appoint who we call a minute secretary. That person writes the minutes out. You can get your school secretary, if you have the privilege of having a school secretary, to come and take those minutes. It doesn't matter. But you need to keep minutes of your meetings. When you have, as a school board, made a decision, you speak as one voice. You go and you talk. You don't say, oh, well, they decided this, but I felt this was wrong. If you didn't agree with the decision and it was voted on and everybody else felt it was right, you have to go along with that decision. That is a good way of making sure that it is structured and that you come with a clear message. I'm sure you've seen it in politics. When one party says this and one party says that, and they don't agree, and then there's a whole confusion. You speak as one voice. No difference, even if you didn't agree. Good. There is a worksheet where we are going to fill in some spaces, and just to make sure that you've got all of these words in the correct place. So your facilitator will now help you to fill in the words that are missing on your sheet. Basically, they are everything that we've been talking about, so you'll be able to do that quite easily. Well, I hope you got that done. We are now going to move on to just one last thing for this session, and that is that management roles need clear boundaries. All right, what does that mean? Let me give you a scenario. A parent, remember from the beneficiary group, a parent is serving on the board. And she hears that the school is considering to build a new classroom. Considering. The parent then goes and meets with other parents, and they stand and talk, and she says, oh, do you know that the school is going to build a new classroom? It goes completely wrong, because that parent now is going to tell somebody else, and they're going to say they're going to build new classrooms, many classrooms, and then it goes completely out of control. What gets discussed in the meeting needs to stay in the meeting. So the parent that serves on the board should not go and discuss what was talked about in the meeting with the other parents, with their children, or with the teacher. They've got nothing to do with those decisions that were made. If a teacher serves on the school board, the same thing applies. They can't come the following day and say in the staff room, oh, the school board yesterday said that Mr. So-and-so isn't really doing his job properly and they are considering ways to reprimand him. That would be disastrous. You cannot do that. So the teacher who serves on the school board, or in fact on any committee within the school, if they are on the SMT, the school management team, then they cannot talk about what was discussed in the management team to all their colleagues outside. You have to keep what you discuss in those teams within the teams. And then the final thing, which is these days very dangerous, is that people share on social media things that have been said. They will write down, did you know this? Or the principal said this, or whatever. And then everybody in the whole school community knows what they weren't meant to mean. In fact, we had an example in the United States. I can't remember the details. I think it was a security person who shared on social media with his direct family something about issues within the country, and he got into big trouble because he shared things that he shouldn't have shared on social media. It happens very easily, and you need to keep control of that. And as a school, head of school, can I just add, you need to keep control of social media. The groups and who is on the groups. If there are class groups, make sure that somebody from management is on a class group so they can control what happens in social media. So we're going to go now, and you're going to go and sit and have a look how you can structure teams within your school. Remember, go back to the little video clip that we were watching. It is all about teams. Teams that will support you. I gave you an example of how you could have teams, but you might decide to have other teams. But it is important to have a board. I don't know what you call it, it doesn't matter, but you have a team of people that help to direct your school. You have a team of people that help to direct teachers and what happens within the school. So these are very important teams. You're going to sit down and work together and work on how you can structure those teams within your school. Thank you very much.